Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very special edition of the Bloop and a Blast podcast. My name's Big Sexy. I'm the Bloop. His name's Luke Hughes. He's the Blast. Hughesy, what's going on, mate? How are you?
Oh, mate, I'm doing well. I'm doing really well. Like, there is no bigger name right now in Australian baseball than Glenn Williams. And we're very fortunate to have Glenn, the CEO of Baseball Australia, at the Nagoya Dome while the boys are training in the background. Glenn, mate, welcome.
Thanks for having me on the show, guys. And I always get confused with the intro there because I'd always pictured Hughesy being the Bloop and Big Sexy being the Blast. But anyway, it's great to be here, and we're at the Nagoya Dome, so it's definitely not a green screen. There's players down there, so they're getting their work in, getting ready for Premier 12.
Mate, plenty going on, obviously. You've been over there now a little over a week. You're in Fuchu, obviously the home away from home for all the national team, for the Australian team. Pretty exciting time to be a baseball player and pretty exciting time to be an Australian baseball player.
Yeah, amazing. We've been to Fuchu now 4 or 5 times, and I was just saying to a colleague at the NPB that the relationship is going well when the mayor and the head of the sports division and a bunch of people from the local council roll out at 7:30 to be able to wave the bus goodbye as we took off for Tokyo Station to catch the Shinkansen up to Nagoya. So it's going great, but the guys are doing an incredible job there representing not only themselves, but Australian baseball with tremendous pride. There's videos of Kenty obviously playing wiffle ball with some kids. They're coming home from practice the other day, but we're at schools with hundreds of kids who are putting on performances for them. The guys are out there playing catch with them. Baseball clinics with hundreds of kids out there on the field, and the local people come out every day, and it's just it's growing and growing. So it's a good time to be an Australian baseball player and to be able to actually go somewhere where you feel really welcome and they want you there and they cherish having you there and they make a bit of a big deal about you is a perfect setup for what we need in terms of practice and preparation. It's been amazing. And then to get on a bullet train and cruise up, I'm not very good at geography, but cruise whichever direction it is to Nagoya at 250, 300 Ks an hour, get off and to be at the Valentine Dome here in Nagoya is pretty cool.
Mate, I remember being in Fuchu, I think it was 2019 Prem 12, and the amount of support just around, not only just from all the, I guess, important people through baseball, but more so just the community aspect. We went to schools. I remember going to schools. We did arts and craft in there. Every kid was involved with it. All the players loved it. I think the players broke up into different rooms, and we were doing all types of things. It's pretty special to kind of see that relationship being fostered, as you mentioned, to be like a comfortable place for the players to go to get prepped for a tournament, which, obviously we've got the Prem 12 coming up, starting shortly for you. So, it's exciting times, mate.
Dude,
and
it looks sick. It looks sick. All the players, like, my question is real quick. It must be quite an adjustment for the players because that's not a normal thing to have people waiting at the bar, especially in Australia. We know where we're at. And some of the guys have been through it before, but I'm sure there's this adjustment period where you're like, oh, wait, hang on, they're here to see us and they're here to get our signature. And it's pretty special, man. I think that's really cool.
It is. The popularity is growing and our media team have done a great job. So a lot of the tweets they're rolling with now are written in Japanese. They were doing some polls. The guys are trying to pronounce words and what their favorite food is in Japanese and trying to introduce themselves, and they're butchering it, no doubt. But everyone's loving that. And Fuchu is about 20 to 25 minutes by express train from Shinjuku. So it's not that much of a stretch for people who actually might want to come and check the team out to get on the train, walk 500 or 600 meters out to the baseball field, come in and check it out. But, we're playing practice games and, Hughesy, back playing on the national team, you would have remembered playing practice games in front of 2 men and a dog. I think we probably had 600-700 people at Citizens Field there on Sunday watching us play our last practice game. So it's really, really cool. The guys have really embraced it. I can't speak highly enough of the people there at Fuchu, but also to the job that the guys have done in Fuchu, just engaging with the community. And that's not happening if the guys aren't representing themselves well and aren't going to the effort of embracing that. So it's full credit to those guys, and I just tag along for the ride and check it all out. It's quite funny to watch.
Mate, my biggest question, and always, being on the national team, how's the team coming together as a group? That time in Fuchu would have been fantastic, just to kind of mingle one another. And it's always like this really fast pace, let's get back around the boys, let's, reestablish those relationships. And a lot of this team has been playing together for a number of years now. So, how's that looking at the moment?
It's going great. The players are buying into it. They went to Fuchu, and the whole reason for the preparation and getting there is to kind of feel a little bit comfortable in being uncomfortable, and some overspeed training, and especially coming out of an off season, guys really pushing themselves. So that's a great element of it from a physical perspective. But as you said, Hughesy, the opportunity for guys who to come together, somewhere where they feel comfortable, somewhere they know. And there was an article that Eric put together about Liam Spence and Josh Spence. The first time they've seen each other for almost 2 years is here in Fuchu, right? So,
wow.
Or here in Japan. So they've come together in a national team. So that's two brothers that have, kind of grown up apart, and all those kind of things. But there's probably, it's probably reminiscent of a lot of the guys on our team, right? That, Travis Bazana's here. It's the first senior national team that he's played on, but he was with a bunch of those guys in the 23 and unders, and then 18 and unders before that. It's the first time that guys have seen each other all off season type thing. So for them to actually get together and have that 8 to 10 days to really grind it out from a physical perspective, but then get the chance to go and spend time together and have dinner together and go to their favorite ramen places and eat kilos and kilos of barbecue beef off the barbecues there is really cool. So look, put it this way, the guys are healthy. We've traveled here safely. And that kind of adrenaline kick and that opportunity to kind of get off the bullet train, go to the Hilton, which is a fabulous hotel, bunch of MPB staff here, catering for us, couple of buses, get underneath the stadium and come out, and you're in a very cool dome, is that kind of adrenaline kick that makes it real. And we're here, and all the hard work over the last week to 10 days is what we're here for.
Mate, go ahead, mate. Go ahead,
I was just going to say, the big game coming up is, of course, versus Japan. That is going to be crazy. Like, the amount of people that are going to see that. I know we've been in this position before, but a lot has been said about it in Australian baseball as far as putting it out there, the homes and the people that are going to be there. Again, that's got to be a huge thing for some of these guys that haven't experienced it yet, right?
Yeah, definitely. I don't know how many it holds here, but there won't be a spare seat in the house. You wouldn't imagine. And the viewing audience, the WBC obviously had the Otani factor. So I think our game against Japan, reached 47, 48 million people in Japan, maybe, but it's probably conservatively, looking, in the 20 million people. And if you kind of try and put it in context, that's it's 5 years worth of AFL Grand Finals, right? In a viewing audience.
Wow.
So it's a huge viewing audience who are really buying into their national team. They love it here, and rightfully so. They've developed some of the best players in the world, and they keep doing. The MPB has an incredible product. So the fans are coming out in droves, and the work that our team has done, and I think that the respect that they're starting to, really garner with Japan, and it's been there for a long time, but this team is definitely, and the team of the WBC, they want to kind of create their own legacy moments. They're super proud of the history and what happened in 2004 and some of the great victories that have happened since. But, they really want to create their own legacy moments, and they want to kind of go, 2004 we did this, but, at the 2024 Premier 12 we did this, and, this is where it is. So there's a real belief in our team here, and they come here and they compete really, really well. They represent themselves well. We've got a huge following in Japan. I think that our Twitter is up over 8 or 9 million impressions over the course of the kind of 8 days that we've been here. And there's people that are actually composing fight songs for us. There's people that are super engaged. So anyway, I think that we'll be outnumbered maybe 49,500 to about 100 fans. If that's how many that holds, we'll have about 100 here and they'll have the rest. But our team's doing a great job of it, and we're super excited for the challenge. It's a challenging tournament. A great baseball team that we're going to be playing against, and the boys are prepped and ready to go. So it should be a really exciting night on Wednesday to kick off what's going to be a great tournament for us.
And mate, a lot of work I know has gone on behind the scenes for you personally, mate. You're a good mate of mine. We do have some chats quite regularly about it. Every year, Prem 12 this year. How long have you been working on just getting the boys ready, like behind the scenes? No one really knows about it, but like, how long has the prep gone on for you personally as the Australian baseball CEO?
Yeah, look, like a fair while. And it probably started from when the Premier 12 got announced and the groups got announced. We would assume that we were going to be in the Asian pool, and they kind of go, Asia, it makes sense for WBSC to be able to have us on this side of the globe rather than flying across to Mexico and all that kind of stuff. So we kind of knew that was there. And then when the announcement of the one-off game came out in Nagoya, and it was going to be Japan versus an opponent.
You knew it was going to be Australia, right? You just 100%.
No, it was like foot on the gas, and who do we need to speak to? We were at the APBC in Tokyo at the time, so we've got a great relationship with the MPB. We said, look, we would love to. We'd feel honoured. We'd love to be able to be here. We'd love to be able to do it. For multiple reasons, and I'm not sure how far that advocacy went, or they've got probably a lot more pull than I do. But yeah, we're fortunate to be able to have that team. And as soon as it happened, that the work starts there. So the work's kind of continuous on it. But Fuchu City know the drill. So flying to Fuchu. I had one stint where I think it would have been maybe in April, where I was here for about 48 hours. So meetings with MPB, meetings with Fuchu, meetings with the embassy, and just kind of tying all those things together in prep for the team. And it was before I went on annual leave, so there was going to be a bit of a gap there. So fly up, get it done, and get it rolling, and then a couple of meetings, since that. But everyone works really, really hard on the club, and it's like my part of it, the work that I've done on it. I wouldn't say that it's over with, but it's almost like my job on the preparation is kind of done. So I take a lead role in the kind of Fuji City stuff. We had an incredible night at the Australian Embassy. So Ambassador Justin Hayhurst hosting us in an incredible embassy in Roppongi Hills. It was really flash. Aussie barbecue. The boys ate, like a herd of, I think that's what they called, of sheep, of lamb. So they're eating lamb chops and eating steaks and schools of prawns and you name it. The boys were giving it a hammering that night. But that was a really cool night, and that was a culmination of a lot of work. And it was great to be able to see, some representatives from MPV that are up, high up on board levels with some of the team ownership and, different business partners that we're looking to be able to kind of do some stuff with. But, baseball is that real connector, especially between Australia and Japan, businesses and government here in Japan. So we've had some really cool events, and I'm still on the tools and helping the guys out, but they're in tournament mode now. So it's good for me to stay out of the way and help them out where I can.
Mate, me knowing you, like you're chomping at the bit just to get down there on field, just to kind of talk a little bit of shit, sling a little bit of flack around to Wazza and to TK and the boys. And I know, mate, like we don't talk about it. Obviously, it's ex-Major League player, mate, representing Australia for many, many years. And, do you miss being out there representing the country? Do you miss being down there amongst the boys and getting after it?
Well, I do. I miss the camaraderie, and like in the role, I love the role of CEO, and I feel really honoured to be able to lead the game that I love and have been involved in my whole life, and to try and have a positive impact on things moving forward. But at times, you feel probably less connected to baseball than I probably feel less connected to baseball than I ever have at times, just because of the workload in the different areas that you have to kind of be across. So to be here and be around the guys is great, and that's that kind of camaraderie stuff. I would miss getting out there and taking BP tonight, taking ground balls on a great field. As soon as the first pitch is thrown from Japan's starter and it's likely to be 93, 94 with some life, and then a split coming after it, I'm happy to be able to sit in the stands and watch from there and turn it over to the boys. So it's really cool to be around it, and it's like there's I think that Kenty is maybe my only former teammate that's out there that's still in the playing group, and he would have been a very, very young,
absolutely.
very, very young player there. So it's those days are well and truly gone for me, but it's really cool to be around it and see the boys have their turn.
Quick shout out to Kenty though, and we touched on it recently, but previously. But as you said earlier, he did play some wiffle ball with some locals on the socials there. And also, Kenty's an absolute legend. I've spoken to him before. Great guy, but mate, the swing on him, I tell you what, Dingo, what are you doing, mate?
Mate, he plays winter baseball in Canberra. Like, he still plays winter baseball in Canberra. The best thing about Kenty, he came out a couple of years ago. I think, life was there and he looked like it was time to move on.
Yeah.
Fast forward like 3 years, and he's still representing. I'm still representing the country. He's still one of the best pitchers for Australia that we have, and I guess that's where we kind of go into now, like the team as well, and like putting the team together. It's always difficult, I know, at this time of year to be able to put, I guess the A-grade team together because a lot of our professional pitchers get shut down, but a lot of success that the team has had over the last couple of years is based on the guys the experienced players, and you mentioned Kenty, was Atho, TK. Like, these guys have been around for a very long time. Like, who are you looking forward to watching again? You can't mention Pisano, right? We talk about him enough on this show, right? And he's got questions. And you know what? The guy's dogged me. I messaged him last week, said, "Hey mate, love to get you on the pod," and he didn't even respond back to me, mate.
There we go.
He's out at the moment, but
maybe you are the Bloop.
Well,
maybe you need me to message him.
It's good to hear that he's taken my advice. So I've known Trav since he was about 10 years old, and I said, if you get a message through from Hughesy, stranger danger, just let it go through the keeper. Look, in all seriousness, like some of the guys that I'm excited to be able to see, like get out there and play is like guys like Trav, obviously, but Solomon Maguire coming into camp and doing like really, really well. Hawley coming back with a lot more experience under his belt. And just seeing guys like that, how they can handle it and how they can take the experience of a WBC, and kind of bring that into the next one, into this Premier 12 here. Watching the practice games, the guys rolled out there and you could see that that fire in their belly from that loss, that they had against Cuba in the quarterfinals. Like, they legitimately, and it wasn't eyewash, throwing stuff around the clubhouse and pouting for a little bit and then going, "Oh, how good was that? We've got to the quarterfinals." They were legitimately, angry that they had been ripped off in a game that they should have won, and they should be in Miami, and they should be playing against Team USA in Miami, and for sure, the winning the WBC. So they've come in with that kind of that experience under their belt, that belief under their belt. And the way they went about their businesses was great. So I'm excited to be able to see Louis Thorpe pitch for the first time on the senior national team and go with big league experience.
Which is crazy, right?
That he hasn't missed, that he hasn't had a chance to be able to do it. But the experience piece is something that's huge in tournament baseball. So we know that, depth wise, a lot of the countries we're playing at would have, depth charts that were way longer than us, with way more availability and all those kind of things, but it's advantageous to be able to have guys that have played a lot of tournament baseball before, and especially when we want to be the best tournament team in the world. So it'll be exciting to be able to see that, and to Jeremy's point early on, rolling out in the Nagoya Dome in front of 45,000 people takes the ability to kind of slow that heartbeat down a little bit and play like you've been there before. And when guys like Woz or Kenty or Atho, or TK, or Robbie now and Georgie and all these guys are having at bats, that's not the first time they've done it. They're used to it and they're excited about it. It's not daunting for them. They're actually looking forward to that. So it's a really good mix of the team, and younger guys starting to infiltrate in is really cool, and it's a great mix at the moment.
I look at the roster, right, and nearly every single one of these guys, was there last year, right? Like, they've had their taste or whatever. Even though younger guys now, they move into this tournament, and there's a lot of experience. Rickson Wingrove, one of the big time players, he finds another level when he represents the country. He does it with Adelaide too, I know. But Robbie, Daryl, like, these guys have been around. Daryl's been around for it seems like he has 10 years plus, right?
Yeah.
And, the big thing for me is those moments that are going to happen in front of 40,000 people. It's not going to faze them. They've been there. They've done it. They just go into, all right, it's just another game. We can't hear anybody. Like, literally everybody's screaming, waving friggin' flags and trumpets and stuff like that. And that's probably something that's a little bit different to what we're used to down here in Australia. But, the experience that I look at on this roster is great. a couple of guys, as you mentioned, Solo, he was my pick to click for Sydney this year for the Blue Sox. And I know this experience that he's going to have over there with the Prem 12 and the national team is just going to set him up moving forward. And I always remember this conversation that we had many, many years ago, mate. And we're sitting there in Taiwan. I can't remember how many people we played in front of it. We played Chinese Taipei, and I think it was like 35,000 people there in a game. I can't remember. It was like a World Cup or whatever it was. And you said to me, once you play in front of one big crowd, and you come out and you represent and you play well, it doesn't matter after that. Like you're done and dusted, you move on. And that big, those nerves that are there before the game, after that, the first time you do it, it's just another game of baseball, right? And I remember you telling me that when I was just a little junior, mate, when you were my roommate back in the day on the national team, so I look at this roster, mate, and we talk about Mitchy Newborn, me and Sexy, like nearly every time, and I just can't wait to see him pitch. And I'm sure Dave's got his setup, but him in Japan pitching against Samurai Japan, I feel that's going to be the moment that I sit back and I really want to lock in to watch is seeing Mitchy hopefully pitch against the best team in the world.
Yeah, look, it is a great roster, and you make a good point there, Hughesy. You get around those big crowds, and I guess the thing that's great about the mix that we currently have is we've got some younger guys that are coming through. Like you mentioned, Rickson, it's like he's this really experienced Team Australia guy, really experienced ABL guy. He's 24 years old.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
he's so
still
young.
super young and still learning the game, but he's been there and he had a good WBC. But for guys like Solomon, who've got a huge future ahead of them, Trav, huge future ahead of them. Thorpe, he's pitched in the big leagues. He's been in and around it. We've got young guys like Blake Townsend coming in. Will Sheriff, it's his second, kind of major tournament for Team Australia, but he was at the APBC, last year. But not only to have guys that have done that before, but for the young guys to look around and see those guys that have done it before and go, oh, they're actually enjoying it and embracing it as opposed to being intimidated by it. They're the same guys. They're actually the same guys that I played with last week in Fuchu. They're going about their business the exact same way, regardless if it's 50 or 50,000. So, it's a great mix, and we're really excited about it. You made a good point around, some players not being available. It's always a tricky time of the year, and we love to be able to see guys have success in professional baseball, and with that success comes a lot of workload and hitting. So, there's guys that we would love to be able to see here that they're not here, but I mean, that's, where we're kind of creating our own depth. And there's guys that, like Curtis Mead was chomping at the bit to be here. And, he's like reading all these different articles, and, there was a mention of 40-man guys maybe being allowed to play, and like, he's all over us to be able to be here and play. So, not only are the guys that are here all in, there's a bunch of guys that are around the world doing their thing that really want to be here, and it's kind of creating that competitiveness, keeping these guys on their toes a little bit. But yeah, bodes well for the future.
It's interesting talking about the future though, because how old's Solomon Maguire?
22.
He's so young. You've got Solo, you've got Bazana, you've got guys like Rickson Wingrove, you've got Will Sheriff. Is he quite young? Is it just the baby face?
He'd be 20. He'd be 23. He was at a 23 and under event. So
how many guys now have you got in that squad, and even guys just outside of that squad, right, that have this sort of experience that are almost under the age of 25? I mean, it bodes well for the future of not only Team Australia but also Australian baseball, doesn't it? Surely.
Yeah, definitely. And like the 23 and under World Cup, obviously, you might get a chance to play against the host nation and play in front of a fair few people, but it's tournament baseball after all. Yeah. But the APBC that we played in last year was in the Tokyo Dome. We played in front of 40,000 against Japan. So there's a bunch of kids that were legitimately coming from college baseball or coming from, their seasons in rookie ball into the Tokyo Dome playing in front of a bunch of people. So we're trying to create those experiences and trying to do it. And a really interesting fact, I've got a fact for you. I don't think Eric's put it out there, so I'm going to steal his thunder on this article.
You love a little drop here. We love great. A
scoop.
So Solomon Maguire is the only Australian player to play in every age group of our national team. So he was at the under 12 World Cup, under 15s, under 18s, under 23s, and now the senior men's team. So there's a kid that when I first started with BA, the first team that we sent away was the under 12 World Cup team to Taiwan. Robert Moden was the EO on it, and Solomon Maguire
he's the EO again, Robbo.
Yeah, he's the EO now, and I'm still tricking him and kicking around. So, and Solo's been on every age group of that team there. So it's just a credit to him, but pretty cool for the program, and something cool to be able to look at. And but yeah, look, the future's bright. We got a bunch of kids in college. We got a bunch of kids that are in pro ball doing their thing, and bit of a transition for us over the next few years. Obviously, we've got we're firmly focused on what's happening here, but we've got a WBC in 2026 right around the corner. Then we've got another Premier 12 in 2027, and then Olympic Games in 2028. So it's a massive 3 or 4 year period for us. So making sure we keep our finger on the pulse on who's where and who's doing what. And, who knows where our next Rickson Wingrove comes from. It might be a Brent Iredale who's, hitting home runs left, right, and centre, and now is going to be at Arkansas, hitting the SEC in the middle of the lineup for a powerhouse. So, you never know. You might turn around and we might be talking about him at the WBC about he's a new guy. It's his first time on there. He hit 40 homers, whatever. So who knows? There's a bunch of guys that are doing some really cool things, around the world. So it's
my
good.
question on Solo, is he talking to TK right now? Like, mate, when are you bloody retiring? When am I? when are you moving on? And all of a sudden he said,
is that a real question? I'll look down there. I know, I'm not sure whether,
Willo, the only thing he should be asking TK is what his skincare routine. He still hasn't gotten back to me.
Yeah, he is the Benjamin Button of the national team. He's getting younger and younger. So, and look, he has we came into camp, and it's one of those ones where TK comes in. He's in incredible shape. He's straight from the fireman shoot, the calendar shoot, and looking great, hair in like immaculate. And he rolls out there, and I think I was texting Hughesy, and it was our first game, and TK's hitting 5th or whatever in the lineup. First pitch he sees, he hits a line drive over the left field fence, right? So, he doubles on the very first pitch he sees in camp. So, no messing around for him. He's, he's a line drive machine, and he must put a tremendous amount of work in to be able to do what he's doing. So,
all jokes aside, we love the GOAT.
He's
that's right. He's all right.
A more serious question is, I got sent a photo the other day of you and your hair. It seems like you've been able to have a haircut there in Japan.
No, I haven't. I don't know who's sending you photos, but that's a stitch up. I'm gonna have to speak with you offline about who sent that. And
has Layla given you instructions to, well, mate, I think it's time you're over there, smarten up a little bit?
Yeah, so I traditionally get my hair cut a lot shorter, and for a number, we've been married almost 20 years now, and my lovely wife. She gives me the critique as soon as I come home, so I'm sure that all of our partners do around the haircut and all those things. Oh, you're cutting it way too short. Why don't you let it grow longer? And so I've just gotten into the habit of going to the barber shop and just going, just trim up the sides. And when my hair gets long, if I don't put product in it, it goes like it looks like Kramer. So it gets quite curly and goes straight up in the air. So I do have product in it tonight, so I was preparing for you guys. So
it's actually
thanks for putting the effort in.
That's the Daryl George. That's the DG when he grows it out a little bit on top there. I like it. You guys be twins.
It goes straight out there. So but look, Heinzie got into town. He's been all over me about it. So when your boss is all over you at work, and when your boss at home is all over you, maybe it's
you're in trouble, dude.
I might wait till I get home, though. So.
Look, back to the serious business. It's my bad. I'm pretty good at derailing these things.
That was my fault.
I do want to ask one more question before we transition into some ABL stuff. If you want to go there with us, obviously talking about the future of the game, and we have touched on it previously and whatever, but we've got to do it. I mean, how big of a deal is it for us at this time period having the Premier 12? Also, then having a guy that's just previously gone number 1 in the draft, and then we have the ability to have him on. In the Prem 12, in the team, and then we're going to play this. I mean, that's got to be huge. I know Aussie baseball fans are just clamoring to see Bazana in the team and playing. I mean, from an administrative standpoint, it's got to be unreal, right? You just got to be sitting there where like, wow, how did we get so lucky? It's got to be awesome.
Yeah. Look, it's incredible, right? So cast our mind back to the draft and that draft day. For him to go first player in the MLB draft is something that. It's an incredible honor, but I think that it's still the gravity of that probably hasn't hit Australian sports fans yet, right? So baseball people are going, that's a massive deal, and the gravity of it probably hasn't hit the sports fans. The media cut through that we had, in terms of talking about Travis, was like I've never seen in the game before, right? People were talking about that, and I'm going into different meetings, and everybody's asking me about baseball. Everyone's asking me about Travis Bazana, which is really cool. Some really great things for me is as soon as he did that, and all those interviews you see that you saw of him, or anywhere you see him talk, he's all in on Australian baseball. He wants to see Australian baseball grow. He wants to see the national team be successful. He wants to see more kids get an opportunity to be able to do what he's done. And he's all in on what he can do to be able to help grow the game. He was this close to being in China for the 23 and unders. That's how all in he is on the Australian program. But it was just the timing thing of, like him being right at the back end of the season. Their team went on to win the championship. So it was something that just didn't fit into that. But this was almost like he's been talking to Dingo about this, all the way along. I don't, I want to be at the Premier 12. I desperately want to be there. And he's turned up and he's gone, what do you guys need me to do? What do we need to do? The guys are doing overspeed work and running bases and like busting their backsides to prepare for this. And he's not Cadillacing it. He's out there, giving it everything he's got. He's stealing bags. He's grinding out at bats. He's hustling, there. So this dude's turned up, and he's not like turned up as the number one pick in the draft. He's turned up as, I'm here to be able to help Team Australia win, and I'm all in. And what do you guys need me to do? Which is great. And I've known the kid for a long, long time. He's super intense. He takes his baseball really seriously. But yeah, he's 100% committed to it, which is quite exciting, and it's great to see him around those guys. So it's almost like, I think that some of those veteran guys are getting some learnings from him, but he's also getting some learnings from, how do you slow the heartbeat down? How do you make sure that you prepare for this and do that? So I think as much as it'd be great for us to have him here, an experience for him to be able to play against Samurai Japan in front of 45, 50,000 will be a great development and learning opportunity for him, which I know for a fact that he'll take that on board, and whatever he gets out of this event, that'll help elevate him. So I think that there's some real mutual benefits there, but it's great to see someone who's had that much on his plate and that much success at college, and then the first round draft pick to kind of be easy for him to kick his feet up right and go,
have a break. Just what
get on mine. Where am I going to, where I'm going to spend some money, get on a boat, go on a vacation or whatever. But he's like, no, I'm here to grind it out in Fuchu. I'm here to be able to help this team win the Premier 12. So it's that's really cool.
Mate, I know for a fact I can't wait to the WBC when hopefully we get to see a combination of Meaty and Pizana, Robbie will still be floating around, and all the rest of the boys that are clearly there. We've talked about it a lot. Just I can't wait to see those two guys written in a lineup for Team Australia at some stage in the future, and hopefully it works. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it doesn't match up for their careers and stuff like that. Everyone goes in different paths, but I think everyone forgets and always say Meaty. I think he's only the same. He's like maybe a year older, if not the same age, and he's had so much success over the time. So I know he's chomping at the bit to represent the country as well. Yeah. So future is bright for the middle part of that lineup. My question to you, being the CEO, and I know you're gonna play the forward defence and not give me an answer. And we've discussed this a little bit previously is, who's our leadoff hitter? We talked about TK, Whitey, Travis. You got three guys there that can anchor it at the top of the lineup. If you sit there and you're in Dave's position, and I'm sure you don't want to give anything away, but, who are you writing up the top of the order, mate? Who's number one? Who's leading off? Who's setting the tone?
Well, I would go based on the last 5 games that we've played. And that would be a left-handed hitter from Oregon State. Has led off every game.
Okay,
has, grinded out a lot of at bats, got on base, and has stolen a lot of bags. Whitey's hit 2 in the lineup, and has come in incredible shape. I know that you had Deebs on there on the podcast the other day. I was listening to that actually when I was in Nagoya. For some meetings, and I listened to that there, and he's raving about the work that Whitey had done, and you could see that coming through. He's he had a great camp in Fuchu, and then TK's kind of anchoring that middle of the lineup there at the moment. But again, things may change. I don't know, lefty righty, but it's
has Whitey, mate, has Whitey challenged Travis to a running race yet? Like line him up on the foul ball line and say, mate, let's go.
I will say this though, right? I will say this: the call out in camp after the John Deeble Bloop and a Blast podcast was they want to know which kind of speed records that Whitey was breaking, and what kind of records that he had. So they think that that's just a Deebs Furphy.
Mate, you know Deebs likes to put some mayo on it, mate.
Yeah, making up some sort of junior speed record that he had or something like that. But look, taking his point on board, like Whitey's looked amazing here, and we're all about the guys staying healthy. And so, how about they have a competition about how many bags they steal or how many runs they score in the tournament? Would be
Love that.
Probably a little bit more productive than a running race. So
yeah.
No, I love it, mate. And look, I understand we were going to dive into some ABL stuff, but I also understand that we're probably running out of time pretty quickly. But the biggest thing that I've taken from this is just that edge that you're talking about. You know, the guys are upset with the result of the WBC, and they've come into it, and all of the storytelling throughout the social media has been that, you know, this how much this means to those guys. And I mean, I tell you what, like, I've never been so jacked for the beginning for like of you know, obviously the ABL, but then you've got this, you got your Prem 12, you got these guys playing. I mean, this is such an exciting time to be an Aussie baseball fan, and you're right, those guys are angsty, they're ready to go. Let's get it done. You know, can't wait to see how it all kicks off here over the coming weekend.
One question. Sorry, you go.
No, I was going to give the media team a bit of a shout out. So, you know, they're working kind of 24/7 over here, and you know, following the guys around, and you know, the whole aim around that is to kind of tell the story behind the story, and you know, kind of what it means to be able to represent Australia, and you know, take people on the journey. So it's great to be able to hear that, and it's really cool. But you're right, the boys are all in. They got a bit of a chip on their shoulder, and you know, they know what it takes, and know what it is, and they're going to work their backsides off. They'll go out there to try and give absolutely everything they can, and they'll go out there to execute and, you know, play the game, and you know, like, it's tournament baseball. You never know what's going to happen over the next few weeks. You know, good, bad, or indifferent, but the guys are well prepared, and it won't be through lack of effort and lack of preparation leading into camp, at camp, and throughout the event.
So obviously tonight, you know, we film on a Monday night, right? So this is going to be posted on a Thursday.
Hey, don't give up.
You know,
we might drop it early. All
right, okay, maybe we do. So tomorrow night, obviously, is Samurai Japan. All right, then you travel day, head down to Taiwan. And then what does the schedule look like for the boys from there?
Yeah, so we'll go 4 straight games when we get to Taiwan. So, yeah, we've got another practice tomorrow night, so Tuesday night. Then Wednesday night we play Samurai Japan.
Okay, yeah.
And then we go on a charter on the 14th to Taipei, and then we play 15 through 18, inclusive. And then all of our flights have been booked, and they're all flexible out of Japan anyway. So we'll fly from Taipei on the 19th back to Japan, and we'll either have smiles on our faces going to the Tokyo Dome Hotel and playing in the top 4, or we'll have the shits and we'll be flying home to our respective home cities. Yeah. So, it's like a really compacted, really challenging thing. And I thought that what you guys were trying to do was, have me go. And the result will be, and I'm going to put my hand over here and you guys tell me, Australia winning, 4-2.
I like that. So, I like the sound of that. 4-2 close game.
Drop it in. Yeah, the game will be, and then do that.
That sounds like way too much effort on my end. I much prefer this approach.
Yeah.
Sorry, Hughesy, were you going to say something, mate?
Nah, mate. I just, it's a bit of a long off season for the boys. I know that it's tough for them, coming off. A lot of these boys haven't played. Some obviously have, some of the pro guys. It's no excuse. The boys never use that as an excuse. They always come in, they're prepped. Dave has got the mentality amongst the group, like, as you said, why not us? We want to be, a top 5. I always say top 5 team in the world at tournament baseball, which I feel is a lot different. It's very much different than, 162 MLB season. But I know the boys have strapped it on over the years. They had a great tournament last year, and we are, as baseball fans, looking forward to seeing it, to waking up, to seeing all the different media outlets, hopefully reporting on Team Australia and how well they've done over here. So, mate, I want to say thank you for all the hard work and I know there's a lot of hard work behind the scenes to get something like this ready. I know how much hard work goes into getting all the junior national teams ready. The ABL season's just around the corner, kicking off this weekend too. So I know you got a lot on your plate, mate. Thank you for your time. And I'm waiting to hear a couple of balls land in the seats out there in the outfield and the whistles to go off, and as the fans are going too. So, mate, I wish I could be there. Some of my fondest memories as a baseball player is representing Team Australia and being there with the boys. That's, as I asked you, that's my biggest thing. I miss that, the team camaraderie, hanging out in the change room, spending time in the hotel rooms with the boys, being able to travel on the team bus to the field, celebrating those wins that we've been able to have over the years. It's an exciting time for us, mate, and good luck while you're over there. I know I'll be messaging you a little bit as over the next week, 2 weeks. So good luck, mate. Thank you for your time.
Well, no, thank you, and look, appreciate the support. We obviously we're over here, but I think that everyone feels it, right? So, through the social media and the way things work, but I'll definitely pass that on to the guys, and I think that when we get through this, maybe episode 2, we can go through. We can set the agenda now, or the run sheet for it. We can do a bit of a wrap of the Premier 12. We can talk about maybe mid-season ABL, and we can probably go through Glenn Williams' last game playing baseball, and the work that he did with his roommate in Luke Hughes to. I think that Hughesy went on to play in the big leagues later that year or whatever, but, he was lucky to get on the plane. So if it wasn't for me, he wouldn't have had his stuff and he wouldn't have got on the plane. So we can probably dive deeper into that one.
Willo, that is exactly what I want this podcast to be.
Right.
He gets it.
Yeah.
All right. Beautiful.
Okay.
Book him in for episode 2.
I'm sitting here because, like you said, I wanted to get up here to where the noise wasn't too much of a distraction, but also I was far enough away for one of these idiots down here it's too far for them to throw a baseball up at me or whatever. So because they're not clanking here, I've picked a great spot. So otherwise there'd be balls clanking up here, and those like Wazza and all those clowns would be throwing balls up at me. So anyway,
the whole time,
for the CEOs,
the whole time, this whole podcast, I'm waiting for a baseball just to come flying past and hit your iPad and knock it out. Like literally, I was just waiting to hear the bang, bang, bangs, and especially I don't know if Warwick could throw that far though these days.
Hey. I was set up down there, but that would have just been disastrous. So anyway, it's been great speaking with you guys. I love the work you're doing, and love the fact that there's people out there talking about baseball and sharing some positive stories and sharing some great information and great stories about a great game and trying to grow it. So a lot of knockers out there, and I really appreciate you guys getting on there and going to the effort of doing this and getting people on to be able to talk about the great things that are happening in baseball. So thank you, and look forward to episode 2, the Luke Hughes Chronicles.
I like it. Thanks, mate.
Thanks, mate.
Appreciate you.
All right. Take care, guys.
There you go. We were super blessed, super lucky to have a chat with Willo, Glenn Williams there. He's out there with Team Australia at the moment, man. That was sick. That was awesome.
Mate, he's one of my good mates, right? And I was fortunate enough to be able to go to spring training with him in the States with the Twins. I was fortunate enough to be a roommate with him on the national team. He's one of the all-time, lovable characters. He's just a great human being, cares so much about the players on the national, and cares so much about all the junior players, everyone across the country. He wants to, put baseball in a better place, and he's been a part of the administration for Baseball Australia for the better part of 10 years now. So It was very good to have him on the pod tonight.
No, it was awesome, mate. And look, so exciting. It feels like you and I have been talking about this for months now, because we have. We've been doing this for a little bit. But hey, it's all coming to that time of the year. We've got Prem 12. We've got lead up games to that. As you hear this, that practice match has probably taken place, and I hope it's an absolute beauty. I know I'm going to be watching. And of course, you guys at home, you can watch it all. Go and check out the baseball.com.au website. You'll be able to find all the ways that you can watch the game on there. But talking about it, leading into the season now, this is it. This is the start of the ABL season. As you're listening to this, games are starting literally tomorrow night, Friday night, the 15th of November. Mate, it's exciting. Obviously, some of the guys are away. We know that. But hey, we've got ABL baseball. It's here. It's the start of it all. And to kick it off, Hughesy, we've got the Melbourne Aces at home against the Canberra Cavalry. What are you thinking there, mate? What are we looking for? Who are we watching? Who do you think's going to get up in this first sort of series of the Melbourne Aces versus the Cav?
I think it's a tough weekend for all ABL teams, especially the ones that I think are at the top of, I guess, the food chain, as you say. Melbourne are coming in that they are missing the heart, right? Georgie, Whitefield, Glendenning, those three guys anchor that roster.
Yeah.
So I looked at this weekend as a split series. We're going to see some other guys in these teams representing their team, and so I'll look to the Aces 2-2. I think Deeves will like to see a series win, but I think 2-2.
Splits it. Yeah, fair enough. Here's another team that surprisingly I was, I don't want to say I was hard on them. The Sydney Blue Sox, they're at home against the Giants. I just didn't feel like they were as competitive in previous years. And look, we've noted now that, as you mentioned, Brook Knight's there now. And looking at their roster, I have to admit, man, looking at their roster, I was at home. I was looking at the roster the other day and I went, oh, actually, you know what? This could be a little bit of a smoky. Again, a pretty tough weekend facing the defending champs, the Adelaide Giants, week 1. But they're at home, new manager, lots going on. They're missing guys too. Both teams here are missing. Yep. What are you thinking? You think it's another split, or you got it in the Giants' favour?
I think it's a split again for a similar reason, as the heart is out of the Giants roster. But, the Sydney Blue Sox come into it better prepared than any other team. They had the KO Cup last weekend. They played against Canberra, so they've been able to play quality games leading into the ABL season. So, Brook will have those boys fired up. He'll have those boys ready to run through a brick wall. But so I look at it again as, a series split to start the year.
Yeah, okay. And this one's pretty fun for me. I mean, I was thinking about this today, man. Like, first of all, we've got baseball back here in Perth. I mean, for me, it's awesome. You're in Melbourne. You can go to an Aces game. That's cool. But at Empire Ballpark, the Perth Heat are hosting the Brisbane Bandits. Funny to think about, right? The last time these two teams faced each other, it was the ABL semi-finals, right? Where the Perth got the best of the Bandits. We all know about that. But the last time the Perth Heat were there, they won game 1 of the championship series against the Giants, right? In the extra innings, and it was amazing. It was absolute scenes, which I'm sure you've been a part of, both on the field and off. But I tell you what, it's going to be a pretty exciting matchup of two teams that last time they played and the last games they played, I mean, they got something to prove, these two teams. Sure, they're definitely short on some players, but I don't know, man. What do you reckon? Who you got?
Yeah, this is a tough one. I said series split for the other two teams. I think, this is a very tough one. I don't want to play like little forward defense and say series split for all three series this weekend, but I think that week with the Heat v the Bandits, I said this is a tough one. Like, there's going to be a lot of local players and other imports from the local domestic competition that are going to
big week for the imports.
Yeah, big week, right? And so you're going to see some guys this weekend that you probably aren't going to see a lot of throughout the rest of the ABL season. For defense, series split.
He's gone for another split.
and the reason why I say that is because if you get through first week and you split the games, that's okay, right? Like, you just don't want to go through a weekend where it's a sweep to start the year and you start off 0-4. Like, I'm really pushing for all these teams to start off, get a couple wins under the belt, be able to go into, week 2, and who knows what's going to happen with Team Australia. They could be off to the second round, or they could be back, and all the boys could be back playing and ready to go for that second series. So, tough time in the ABL, for the franchises, but I know they're come prepped. I know they're ready to rock and roll. The juices are flying. They're ready to go, and it's just going to be a cracking weekend for baseball. As you said, we've got Prem 12, kicking off, and we've got the ABL season kicking off. I'm just excited to be a fan, but I have played the easy card and gone, look, series sweep. Series split across the board. Just, everyone starts off 2-2 and we roll into week 2.
Yeah, well, look, it's interesting, right? So you've got, and this is the other thing, right? It's not just you've got some guys out, right? We know that. But so Friday night, obviously you've got Melbourne playing Canberra at Melbourne. Sydney Blue Sox playing the Giants, defending champs in Sydney, and Perth are hosting the Bandits, right? That's Friday night. Saturday, you've got a double header for Perth and the Bandits, as well as Sydney and Adelaide. Melbourne's just playing the one game, right? So it's a little bit easier, a bit harder on those other 4 teams that are playing the double headers. Melbourne's actually going to play right into Monday next week as well. So a few games on the Sunday. So there's a lot of baseball, lots of Prem 12.
Yep.
Pretty exciting. You're right. You know what I think about now? Like it's almost tipping this Perth-Brisbane game series, almost tipping a little bit more in Brisbane's favour. I know that's crazy, but watch that be something. I think they're missing less guys. There's a lot of impact guys for Perth that are out this weekend, and I think you might be shocked to see maybe the Bandits pick up 3.
I can see that happening, right? Like, definitely see that happening. And the interesting thing is, it's so hard to for a team to travel and play Friday night, double header Saturday. I mean, they travel day into playing Friday night, time zone changes into a double dip the next day. You're buggered, you're tired, then you roll into a Sunday game. That's hard. I know Ralphie's big push is to play 4 games over 4 days. That's always been his thing. I'm sure the Monday, I haven't seen it, but it will probably be a big kids' day at the ballpark on the Monday, I'll presume. And so like it's going to be a big game of big weekend of baseball, and it is always tough playing 4 games in 3 days. You just need to strap it on and get going and have a short-term memory. You go over the night before, like you just got to come out and roll out into the next day. That's it.
And look, hey, the beginning of the ABL season's here. To check out where all the games are and where you can watch it, make sure you just hit that theabl.com.au. Mate, it's exciting. I'm pumped. I'm super jacked. I can't wait. I'm going to go and try and catch a game at the ballpark. And we implore you guys to do that if you get a chance.
Quick little question for you. Are we going to see you on the broadcast there at the Perth?
I'm trying. I'm really trying, mate. Big shout out to the Perth Heat guys. If you're watching this, hey, why don't you hook me up? Get a mic in my hand. I can talk.
Man loves to talk a little bit, doesn't he?
Loves a chat. Nah, look, we're working on some stuff. Who knows? You might see it, but maybe all of our listeners, if you want to see Big Sexy on a broadcast there with the Perth Heat, why don't you go and get on the or any of the teams really? Go and hit up their socials. Go and say tag us at Bloop Blast Podcast. Tag the page and say I want to see some of that Big Sexy on there. Maybe even tag Hughesy and some of the Aces stuff. We can get Hughesy on a broadcast with the Aces. Sounds like an easier sell getting you on a game than me, to be honest. But anyways, that's all right. Hey, and subtle promo segue into our socials. If you haven't already, make sure you give us a like, give us a subscribe, give us a follow on all of our socials at Bloop Blast Podcast. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, and of course we're over on YouTube. That's awesome. I mean, look, wherever you want to listen to it, make sure you give us a follow. If it's on Spotify, if it's on Apple Podcasts, hit that subscribe, hit that follow button, give us a like, do what you got to do. The other big thing I'm going to ask of our listeners, if they don't mind, a lot of you guys are already subscribed and all that kind of stuff, but if you could just leave us a little review on whatever platform you like listen to it or watch it on, leave us a review. Go for that, because that kind of thing helps huge with the algorithms and all the things that we don't fully understand, but we know we've got to do it. So we appreciate you guys. The feedback's been great. Hughesy, is there anything else you wanted to say before we sign this off?
No, mate. It was a great podcast tonight. Loved having Glenn on. It's just exciting week of baseball for all people that follow the sport in Australia.
That's it. And look, hey, we'll see you again next week. Thanks so much. Peace.
Going back. This ball's back.